Mass arrests over the weekend at various university protests that are purportedly anti-Israel. Oh boy, I got a lot to say about these protests. I'm just going to start with, I am done defending communists who themselves physically attack people who hold rallies or protests that the communists don't agree with. To elaborate, right now what we're seeing across the country at these universities, they claim is an anti-Israel gathering. However, it's not really. I mean, it kind of is. That's certainly a core tenet and a principal reason for why people are gathering. But if you take a look at the photos, if you take a look at what people are actually protesting for, it is, I don't know, vague communism. I had to say the word communism in a certain sense because they use that as a weapon. The communists do. They'll say, aha, see, we're not communists. We care about Israel. But I'll give you an example. When you actually look at the videos and photos coming out of these universities, you'll see that at Columbia, for instance, they call it the People's University. They have a big sign saying, welcome to the People's University. What does that have to do with being anti-war? The corporate press then calls them all anti-war because they slap a label on themselves as if that is exactly what they're fighting for. When in reality, many of the things they claim to be advocating for are contradictory. I'll give you an example. Alex Stein went down to UT Austin and he was asking the people there, they said that they were LGBT for Palestine and things like this. And when he asked them, yes, but in Palestine, in Gaza, you go to prison or you could be killed for being gay. What did they do? They physically attacked him. Now, outside of physically attacking a guy, they also physically attacked Ami Horowitz because he was waving an American flag. There you go. What shows that this is not really about Israel and Palestine is particularly the LGBT issue. I mean, to be fair, putting up a big sign saying, welcome to the People's University shows it's really just communism. And look, what they like to do is they say, see, when we protest for our rights, they call it communism. And I'm like, no, I'm saying that when you call it the People's University, when you say you're trying to seize the institution for the people, I'm calling that communism. And I'm saying that is the underlying organizing principle. And then you attach all of your ancillary pet issues to it. But the reality is it's an amorphous, chaotic blob with no real intention. I saw this during Occupy Wall Street. We've seen it subsequently. And now we see it in the biggest Occupy protests since Occupy Wall Street. What I mean by that is people setting up tents and camping and things like this. There is no stated goal. So I'll ask you this. What is the demand of these protests? There isn't one. It's generic, chaotic destruction. Hence that video we saw where the young woman was like, I actually don't know what we're demanding of NYU. Why are they protesting on college campuses? First question. I ask this of any activist. Why are you protesting at the university campus grounds? What will the university be able to do to help the people of Gaza or stop Israel? Oh, the answer to that question is nothing. It's seemingly irrelevant. What this really is, it's another summer of love. It is bored young people trying to fit in, acting like they're deserving of something. And the unfortunate thing is, what really makes me sad is, maybe it's intentional, maybe it's not, but the real protest needs to be against the Biden administration for squandering the inheritance of Gen Z. Why do so many young people feel like they're owed something? Well, they are, right? We build society, we pass it down to the next generation. Only now, Biden's giving that away. How do you succeed in destroying a nation? First, after you take away the inheritance of the next generation, make sure they think the real problem is capitalism. That way they can never fix their problem. It's creepy and it's sad. We'll start here with the general news about the mass arrests, but then we'll talk about Alex Stein and Ami Horowitz. NPR reports universities across the country turned to forced removal. Oh, forced removal, they call it. You mean arrests? Of pro-Palestinian protests and encampments this weekend as more and more students mounted organized opposition to Israel's handling of the war in Gaza. On Saturday, more than 275 people were taken into custody in campuses from Arizona to Massachusetts. I'm going to pause right there once again and say the reason why I don't believe this is actually about Palestine and Israel or genocide or anything like that is that China has been engaged in some of the worst behaviors imaginable, notably with what's going on with the Uyghur Muslims. And where's that? Xinjiang, I think that's where it is. And what do you get? You get Disney thanking the security forces that helped facilitate this. And nobody cares. There's no protests from these people. They don't occupy universities and say, stop the genocide. And it's against Muslims, too. That's why I say it's not really about Israel. Israel ignites, probably because of TikTok, in an Arab Spring-like fashion. Congress then makes a strong move to get rid of TikTok. You see where this is going. They say, beginning at 11 p.m. Friday night, campus police at Arizona State University, one of the nation's largest public colleges, started to warn a group of protesters that their gathering on alumni lawn was unauthorized. After the group refused to leave, campus police arrested 72 people for trespassing by early Saturday morning, according to a university release. Well, the university will continue to be an environment that embraces freedom of speech. ASU's first priority is to create a safe and secure environment that supports teaching and learning. Oh, now it does, right? You know, I just want to shout out all of the cops and all the administrators who do nothing when they're protesting against white people and things like this, or for DEI. They're going to say more than 1,000 miles east on the campus of Washington University in St. Louis, another pro-Palestinian protest sprung up on Saturday. Protesters spread out on campus with tents and made calls for more people to join, according to a university statement. It quickly became clear through the words and actions of this group that they did not have good intentions. When the group began to set up a camp in violation of university policy, we made the decision to tell everyone present they needed to leave. Let me show you this map. USA Today has a map that is actually kind of old. This is from the 25th. And so, right, you don't have St. Louis on here. But you can see here massive protests, massive arrests. And take a look at this. Universities all across the country are seeing these protests. I say, clear them out. Don't care. Clear them out. I say, send in the police and clear them out. Now, there are many people who are saying these protests are anti-Semitic. And I'm just like, dude, there's a difference between being anti-Israel and just hating Jewish people. Okay. There is an overlap. That's true. There are some people who don't differentiate between anti-Israel or anti-Zionist and hating Jewish people. And I also think there is an inherent challenge in why there isn't the reason why there is an overlap, in that if you're a Jewish person and you're critical of Israel's actions in the war in Gaza, but you do believe that Israel has a right to exist, you're a Zionist, and they're threatening your life. And that's where the overlap starts to come into anti-Semitism, and I understand why there is that overlap. Again, I'll stress, it is mind-numbingly annoying when someone comes out protesting, like an actual protest, like someone who's actually angry. You go on Twitter and you say, Israel just bombed this place, they should not have done that. I go, oh, wow. Then you get people who are just like waving Israeli flags and saying you're an anti-Semite. And it's like, dude, they criticize the military action. However, now many people probably don't want to acknowledge this. I think a lot of people do acknowledge it, but some people don't. The reason why often you see the conflation of anti-Semitism and anti-Zionism is because, as I stated, there may be a Jewish person who's like, look, I want peace. I don't want the war. I don't think Israel should be doing the bombing campaigns they're doing, but please, we were attacked and we just want to be left alone. Aha, you're a Zionist. That land is not yours. Give it back to Palestine. So when you get this guy, Columbia Bar student protester, who said Zionists don't deserve to live. Okay, you see, here's the problem. Because there's three kinds of Zionists, according to these activists. And I should say there's three tiers, but they're all Zionists. So you might be thinking, a Zionist is someone who wants to create the nation of Israel, and they're going to enforce it with violence, and they're bombing Gaza, and they're saying, we will have all of this country. And they say, that's what a Zionist is. Then there's well, they may not agree with Israel's actions. They want peace, but they do believe Israel has a right to exist. And that's a Zionist too. And then, of course, my favorite Zionist is I don't want to be involved at all. This is where I fall in. I don't want to be involved at all. I don't support U.S. intervention in most instances, and I don't know why we're funding this and think we probably shouldn't be funding it at all. But yeah, there's Israel on a map. Zionist. Not exaggerating. I have people calling me a Zionist for simply saying Israel is a place with a government, and it is. It literally is. Now, I got to admit this. What really is wild to me is all of this kicks off with Hamas attacking, flying over the gates, paragliding in, murdering and kidnapping people. And then what's the response we get from the people who hate Israel? I don't, I'm sorry. Israel derangement syndrome. I'm going to say it again. I hope all the Israel derangement syndrome people hear it and they lose their minds and their blood boils and they scream and they bang their fists. Israel derangement syndrome. There are so many countries on this planet that we fund. There are too many countries that we fund. There's a bunch of wars happening all over this world. There's funding we're sending to Sudan. We're sending funding to, we're doing deals with Saudi Arabia. We're sending money to Iraq and Afghanistan, though mostly that's ended. The most money we've ever spent, Vietnam. I know that's over, right? We've got military bases in South Korea. We are overspending in Europe on NATO. You've got Chinese genocide with the Uyghur Muslims, but they won't shut up about Israel. By all means, you're allowed to criticize Israel. You're allowed to be focused on Israel. But I'm saying these protesters who are going around screaming don't actually care at all. And it's many of these people who are like, yeah, but Tim, you're a Zionist. And I'm like, what? Well, I don't even know or care about Israel. And they're like, you think Israel exists? And then the funny thing is, it's all propaganda, man. Look, I will tell you this, and I will say it definitively. There are prominent people who hate Israel, who have prominent. I'm talking from the 10,000 followers up to 500,000 followers who have said to me, you are a Zionist because you think Israel is real. And I'm like, but there's a country and they have a government and they have weapons and there's a war going on. And the response is, Israel is a military occupation, not a country that has taken over Palestine. And if you think Israel is a country, then you're a Zionist. It's how they use racist and white supremacists, the exact same thing. And I'm like, dude, I don't even want to be involved in this, okay? Here's the ultimate issue. This is the guy, Kimani James, apparently. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure he's the guy who's on. People have reported in numerous outlets that I'll put it that way. He's the guy who said, we're going to remove these people from the camp. Everyone take one step forward. And he got banned because he said Zionists don't deserve to live. The question is, who's he talking about? Because look, I'm not Jewish. Okay. I don't know anything about Israel. I've been there one time, whatever. I don't know. And they call me a Zionist. So what if you're a Jewish person who's like, we are building a homeland. I don't want war. I'm a conscientious objector. I refuse to serve in that. If all these things, they say doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And now you've got a problem. It is the singular Jewish state in the world. And if you're saying it should not exist, and there are people who agree with you on military, you are no longer talking about, you are getting into the overlap, I should say, where you're basically saying the singular Jewish state shouldn't exist for political reasons. And now you're getting into the area where people are going to start calling you anti-Semitic. I get it. There's a difference between saying, a Jewish person is such and a country is such. And that's why I say there's an overlap. It's light, but I think it's fair to say there's an overlap. I don't think it's fair to say that that anti-intervention, that isolation, that refusing to fund it is anti-Semitic. I don't think it's fair to say that criticizing Israel's military action is anti-Semitic. I don't think it's fair to say that criticizing the Balfour Declaration and war is anti-Semitic. But I do think there's obvious reasons why you get into this anti-Semitic territory when you start getting into the border of it. But I'll put it this way. I think most importantly, guys, don't take my word for it. Just go on Twitter, look up the accounts that are criticizing Israel, and you will find the majority of them, they also hate Jewish people. They're posting about people with tiny hats and all this other stupid nonsense. They do it all the time. Not every single one, because I have friends who are very critical of Israel who have no problem whatsoever with Jewish people or anything like that. And I have friends who are critical of Israel and say Israel should be allowed to exist. They should be allowed to defend themselves, but this is going too far. I can respect all of that. But then there are people who are like, I'm not anti-Semitic. I just don't like Israel. And then they start talking about the Jews all the time, nonstop. They don't shut up about it. Dude, I'll tell you this. I used to have, we had an old community forum. How did we do it? I don't remember. It was like an open access public community newsroom that I ran well before the Timcast company and all this stuff. It was when I just had a single YouTube channel. And there were people who would come in and do everything in their power to make everything about Israel. I'm like, these people are sick in the head. They have got a mental problem. I'd be like, look, the big news right now in the United States is, Hillary Clinton is saying this about Trump, and this is happening because it's like 2017, 18. And then someone would be like, Hillary Clinton's Clinton Foundation takes a lot of money from foreign parties. And then I'd be like, oh yeah. And then someone would be like, yeah, like they get a bunch of money from Israel. And someone would go, wow, Israel. And then they'd be like, oh man, I've been to Israel once. Do you know what Israel's doing right now? Wow, Israel. Yeah. And the government. Now let's talk about, and I'm like, whoa. What just happened? But I'm not even kidding. That stuff I get. The funny thing was how in the chat, somebody would be like, what are you guys up to today? And some guy would be like, I think I'm just going to chill out, order some pizzas and watch TV. And then someone would be like, you ever have pizza in a different country? And then someone else would be like, yeah, I was in Italy once. I had pizza. It was really strange. No sauce. And then he goes, yeah, I had pizza in Israel. And I'm like, oh, here we go. I'm not kidding. This literally happened. And then he's like, I had pizza in Israel one time, and it's like, man, but what Israel's doing, and then all of a sudden everyone's talking about Israel. And I'm just like, finally I went in, I was like, guys, if you bring up Israel one more time, I'm just shutting this thing down. I'm banning everybody. Like, the purpose of the newsroom is to be like, what's the top stories of the day? Not for someone to come in and just scream and bash their head on the wall screaming about Israel. It's insane. I don't get it. Israel derangement syndrome, my friends. Well, look where we are now. Alex Stein gets assaulted by trans for Palestine activists at UT Austin. Ami Horowitz got attacked. He was waving an American flag at CUNY, and they physically grabbed him, took his flag, and attacked him. That's wild. And then we have this story. Emory University professor arrested after confronting cops over treatment of Gaza camp student. She was charged with disorderly conduct and simple battery against a police officer. This woman, I wonder if we have the video here. Let's see. Here's the woman screaming. Actually, do they have the moment she hits the cop? I don't know. So I think they might. This woman right here on the left in the white is a professor. And she's screaming, I'm a professor. I'm a professor. And she's getting arrested. She's screaming. This is a woman who's never faced accountability for anything in her life, most likely. Maybe unfair to say, but the way she acts, it seems like it. She hit a cop. She got arrested for battering a cop, and apparently she admitted to hitting a cop. Let's see. They show her walking towards the scene of protesters being arrested. What are you doing? After bending down closer to the protesters being arrested, another officer confronted her, screaming, "Get on the grass." I reacted impulsively. She said, "I apologize. Please remove the handcuffs." Apparently what happened was she walked up as they were arresting someone, and she bopped the cop. I don't want to say hit. I mean, some feeble old woman, but she hit the cop on the head as he was arresting. So they arrested her. These people are nuts. Look, these protests aren't anti-Israel. A lot of these people just despise Israel. A lot of them are anti-Semitic. There was some fake news where a university said that people were yelling, to kill people, but it was actually pro-Israel protesters who were yelling that as sort of an ingest. So basically what happens is a big group of people, and they're doing what's called the people's mic. And they're like, everyone listen, mic check, and everyone repeats what they say. And when that happens, one of the pro-Israel protesters yells, kill, right. I'm not going to repeat it. And the reason they did was to make a point. It was ironic. It was sarcastic. This is what you want, right? And then the universities and the press started running the story that students had yelled this to make it seem like it was the leftist protesters. I'm gonna wind down with this. Lock them up. Send in the cops. Arrest them all. You may be saying, but Tim, you can't abandon the classically liberal principles of free speech. These protesters have every right. Don't care. We're well past that point, and there's nothing I can say or do. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because these are leftists where if I want to hold a rally, they will come and physically attack me. These are leftists to where when I did hold an event, a ticketed public, we were doing discussions on stage. It was called Ending Violence, Racism, and Authoritarianism. And what happened? They threatened to burn the theater down. Theater canceled on us at the last minute. So we moved to the local casino. Event went off without a hitch. We did end up losing half our seats, but that only really affected about 150 or so ticket holders Unfortunate. We weren't sold out. And then we went and had our members-only event across the street from where the original event was supposed to happen because the people there refused to back down. And far leftists threatened violence. These are people who threw explosives at old ladies. Not the same people necessarily, but I am done. I'm done. I asked this on Timcast IRL last week. I was like, should we keep defending these people's right to protest if we don't have one? Because of them, because they physically attack us. And everyone's like, Tim, it doesn't matter whether you want to defend their free speech or not. We're well past that point. And that's what I agree. I agree with. I stated, I will not defend the free speech of people who don't believe in free speech. If you come to me and you have abhorrent views, but you believe in free speech, if you're a leftist, communist, anti-Israel, and you believe in free speech, and you defend people on the right having rallies and their free speech, I got no problem with you. I will defend you at these protests. The problem is all of these people? No. You try to speak at a university, they'll get you banned. You try to hold a rally outside, they'll physically attack you. So I'm not going to defend them. Let the cops come and crush them. The cops can come in and arrest each and every one, and I don't care. Mike Johnson says he wants to pull their federal funding. Do it already. If this is the catalyst that pulls the funding from the universities, fine, so be it. It's over. I can defend free speech for those who believe in free speech, but not for those who don't. And these people don't believe in free speech. They believe in their speech. And that's why when they physically attack Ami Horowitz and Alex Stein, they proved my point. I will not defend them. In fact, I will cheer when the police come and arrest all of them. Why? Because they're attacking people. Because you don't get free speech, only they do. Sorry, you don't get it either. These are the rules you ask for. These are the rules that you will get. And I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up at 1 p.m. on this channel. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you all then.